Hi, I'm Nancy. Welcome to Mindful Yoga. Today we're doing a practice that emphasizes the wrists, how we can not stress them out when we do yoga, and how we can aid them to make them stronger. We're also going to be doing some deep listening, which is a strategy used in a modern Japanese dance form called Butoh that delays the time between the impulse in your brain and the action that you take, so as to feel more completely the mind-body connection and to be able to feel what's happening in the body from the inside out. So we'll do a little bit of that at the beginning and the end. Let's take a seat now. We'll do a little bit of breathing to start. Arriving on the mat. Lifting up through the spine. Softening down through chin and shoulders, arms, waist. Feeling the weight of the body down into the deep belly. Feeling the connection to the earth from deep belly through the legs, down into the feet. Simply breathing. Breathing fully through the lower ribs, the diaphragm expanding, ribs expanding to the side and back. And as the breath lengthens, the breath rises, and both front and back of the ribs expand. Let the breath connect all parts of your body, from brain to toes. From heart to belly. From nose to knees. Breath, the bearer of life, of quiet and calm. Something we can transform in our body. If it is calm, it can bring us equilibrium in the face of confusion. The breath reflects our feelings, sometimes ragged and rough, fearful, grieving. Working with the breath, making it fuller, softening the body, we can transform fear into courage, grieving into forbearance and hope. Let the breath create space between cells, between organs, within all our tissues. Space that becomes bigger than what you are holding. And letting the gaze remain soft. We're going to bring one arm up, but before we do so, make that impulse in the brain. Letting that arm know that you're going to raise it, making the connection between brain and nerves and muscles. Then allowing that slowly to happen. Feeling the connection as you raise the arm. The arm comes overhead. The brain gives the command to come over into a side bend, anticipating the feeling in the side of the body. And very slowly opening through the side of the body. muscles, nerves, brain, all moving as one. And slowly unfolding, anticipating the arm coming down and bringing it down slowly. Moving to feel. Other arm, anticipating that it's going to raise up. Giving the command, delaying the action. Slowly making that connection between impulse and action. The body becoming whole. As it reaches to the top, mind anticipates the impulse of the side bend, the opening of the side body. And then allowing that to occur, feeling deeply, listening deeply. Anticipate the unwinding, slowly coming up. Anticipate the arm, the shoulder, the chest, the back, the brain, the spine. Now bring the arms out to the side, stretching out from the heart, through the chest, out through the arms to the fingertips. Send the impulse to twist toward the right, anticipating that from the brain down through the spine and the muscles on the sides of the body. And slowly allowing that to happen. Interoception, feeling the body from the inside out. Anticipate the twisting back and let it occur. Coming to center, anticipate the twist to the left. Brain, nerves, muscles, alive. Slowly letting it happen. Anticipate the coming back to center, delay, and turn. Now letting arms come down. Let's anticipate bringing our hands to the floor, mat or rug or floor in front of you. Before you put your hands down, anticipate. What's that going to feel like? Are the nerves in your hands alive and ready, connected to the brain? And then let the hands come down, feeling. Option to slide the hands out, keeping that connection, body, mind. Where do the sensations move as you stretch your hands forward? Coming to the end of your range, pause for a moment. Anticipate how it will feel to come back, giving the impulse, delaying, anticipating, and then pulling back. Feeling with the whole body. Well, it would be slow indeed if we did the whole hour like that, but that's an interesting example of how we can increase our feeling of the body and our connections throughout the body. Let's take our shoulder blades and bring them up to our ears at regular speed, aware of our shoulder blades coming together in the back, separating, coming up, together and down. Realizing that, yeah, it feels like it's the shoulders that we're moving, but it's the shoulder blade part of our shoulders. And then one time round the opposite direction and bring them down. Bring your hands forward, and we're going to turn our wrists. So coming to our wrists, just doing that circular motion, quite aware of the amazing quality of the wrists and their ability to move and back around the opposite direction. The arm has one bone in the top of it, the humerus, and then there's two bones in the bottom of it, the larger radius bone and the ulna on the side, pinky side. And then there's three, so we have one bone, two bones, then there's bones that make up the wrist in two layers. One layer has three bones, and the next layer has four bones. Finally, there's five bones, obviously, the metatarsals that come up here into our hands and fingers. So we're emphasizing particularly these gliding joints of the wrist. These carpal bones are six-sided bones, kind of oddly shaped, and they glide over each other. There is a kind of tunnel. We've heard of carpal bones. We've heard of carpal tunnel, right? There's a carpal tunnel that goes under those bones on the thumbs, more farther towards the thumb side of the wrist. And there are ligaments that are running over that. In between them comes the median nerve. Sometimes by repetitive motion, we've all heard about on computers, right? Or pianos or whatever, that gets swollen in there, and there's compression and soreness in the wrist, pain. Another thing that can happen is that that nerve that goes through the carpal tunnel itself is compressed or irritated. It comes from the bottom of the cervical spine, the bottom of the neck and the back, over the shoulder and down into this front shoulder eye, I call it the brachial nexus here, various nerves here. And then it runs down the arm to the thumb side of the wrist and goes through that carpal tunnel. So that can also become irritated and swollen. So we'll be looking at how to hold our hands in order to forestall this kind of swelling and take care of that carpal tunnel area. We'll also be looking at what can help us to decompress this area where the median nerve comes through, because this is connected down to the wrist. The median nerve can be compressed because we are collapsing in the front, our muscles are shorter in the front and they're longer in the back. Shoulder blades are weaker. They're not able to pull the shoulders back, and they're connected with the trapezius, a big diamond muscle in the back. And the trapezius muscle here in the lower mid back around the waist, those lower fibers of the trapezius can become lengthened and are not very strong. And this affects the ability of the shoulders to be open. There is muscles called the pectoralis minor that comes from the front of the shoulder blade, which pokes out right here, the sides of your shoulders, and comes across to the mid-breast area. This can become compressed because it's shortened, and then that can bring pressure on the median nerve. So we're going to be opening our chest, we're going to be strengthening our lower trapezius in the back, and we're going to work a little bit with the wrist. So let's come to a standing position. Just some simple exercises to bring some movement to the wrists, keep them live. Make fists at the end of your outstretched arms, and then flex and extend. So I'm just bringing it in. I want you to be able to see that. I'm just bringing it in and turning it under. So arms are out, the fists go down, and the fists go up. fists go down, and fists go up. Keeping the wrists limber in all their possible movements. 3, 2, and 1. Now bring the fingers wide. My palms are down, fingers are wide. And I'm going to turn towards the thumb side and then turn towards the little finger side. So I'm just turning like this with a flat hand, bringing the thumb side forward and then the pinky side back. Another possible movement of the wrist that we can do every once in a while to keep strengthening the wrist and keep it able to have these motions. Now, another movement of the wrists is to turn over. So palms down, then palms up. And at first you can let the shoulders move with that, externally rotating the shoulders as the palms come up and internally rotating as the palms come down. So that's one way to do it. Now we're going to let the shoulders be neutral and turn only the wrists. Of course, the arms turn slightly too, but keeping the shoulders neutral as the palms turn up and then turn down. One last one. Now turn the palms down and we'll do an isometric contraction. So we're contracting muscles through the chest, down through the arms, through the wrists, and pushing down as if we were pushing the floor down for 3, 2, and 1. Then keeping the shoulders neutral, turn the palms up, and we'll push up as if we were pushing the ceiling up, contracting the muscles through the chest, arms, wrists, and hands for 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let's turn the shoulders once again, loosen up a little bit. Now bring the tops of the arms along the body, bend the arms, and we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, bringing the shoulder blades in towards this spine with the rhomboid muscles. This is another important way to strengthen the back and keep these shoulder eyes, where the median nerve runs through, open. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now bringing our attention for a moment to the trapezius, this muscle in the back, and these lower fibers of the trapezius that affect the shoulder blades, that affect the shoulder eye, that affect the arms and the wrist. We're going to pretend there's a rope overhead. We're going to pull it down from above. Elbows stay wide, elbows stay up as you come just a little bit below your elbows. Don't strain your shoulders too much. Go back up, pull it down as if it were difficult to pull down. Perhaps feeling some contraction as you pull in the lower trapezius muscle fibers. And of course, if you really have something that you can pull, then this will become even more of a strengthener. One last time. And bring the hands down. Here's a few movements that we can do to open up the pectoralis minor that goes from the front of the shoulder blades here on the sides of the shoulders across the breast area, and sometimes bring compression on that brachius nerve area. Bring the arms behind, interlace the fingers, pull down with the hands, shoulders are neutral. Then bring the shoulder blades together and down. Now, if it is available to you, lift the hands just an inch or two out in the back. And this is allowing the pectoralis minor to glide in and out, opening it up so that it's not bringing compression across those shoulder eyes. And this is something easily done while you're standing anywhere, almost. For 3, 2, and 1. Now, another way to melt this area a little bit in this pectoralis minor, bring one arm wide, thumb is down, bring it back behind the waist. Retract that shoulder blade on the side that your arm has come from. Low ribs knit down, and this opens up and melts this nerve area of the median nerve. If it works for you, bring out the other arm, palm up, and then gaze and arm just come around slightly, opening up. Experiment with this. This is just another way to melt and open the shoulder eye on the other side. Then bring both arms down to the side. The opposite arm comes out, thumb down, back behind. Knit down through the front ribs. Retract that shoulder blade in on that side, opening up this area. Then to open up the opposite side a little bit in a different way, bring the other hand out. Palm can be forward or up depending on your comfort. And then gaze and hand just slightly turn round. No twisting through the body, just the hand and arm opening away from the shoulder. And if the gaze is not comfortable going around, it doesn't have to go very far or at all. 2 more times. And bring the hands down to the side. Let's come into our basic mountain pose, this very basic posture in yoga. Feeling the bottom of the feet, engaging the arches, feeling some energy coming up from the bottom of the feet through the inner thighs, the extension from pelvic floor up through the root of the tongue, a little tuck in the chin, length in the back of the neck. Arms are heavy. Relax through the belly, allowing it to become buoyant. Legs and the bottom of the feet soften, even as the buoyancy of the body, with its tensile strength, resists gravity just enough to keep us up, even as we give in to gravity. This good posture, where your ears are above your shoulders are above your hips are above your heels. This in itself is helping your wrists because of the anatomy that we've talked about today. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Open up in this same posture, opening up a little bit more through the front of the spine, lengthening up. Opening from pubic bone up through the clavicle in a bit of a back bend. Then bring the feet just a little wider apart as hands go out in the front. Hips come back. Sits bones widen. Then drawing back up, hands come to the heart. Sits bones tucked together, strong through the top of the belly as you open up. Legs strong. Core strong, spine long, coming up, and once again letting the sits bones widen, coming into chair. Sits bones tucked together, inner thighs rotate inwards a bit, strong through the upper belly, opening, long through the spine, length rather than the hugest back bend in the world, and then down into wide sits bones, into chair, and then come forward into forward fold, and rest there a minute. Hands come to the shins, press into the shins. Accordingly, there can be more length through the spine, and the tailbone up through the crown. Then let the belly come down over the thighs, hands come down, arms come wide, heart forward, eyes forward as you come up. And then bring the hands down. We'll come to a tabletop position. And now we're going to be talking a little bit about how to place our hands. Many things we do, from cat-cow to downward dog, we have our hands down, and this can be tough on the wrists. Some of those strengtheners can be good to do if you have particularly weak wrists or injured wrists. If you have wrists that can take some weight, you might think about where that weight is coming. So often we give the command in yoga, in fact, to bring the weight into the mound of the thumb. My teacher, Chris Holmes, recommends that that's not the best place to put your weight because that's where your carpal tunnel is. Rather than that area is at the bottom of the radius, the bigger bone coming down, which does take most of the weight. But the ulna, the smaller bone, comes down on the pinky side, and it also can take some weight. So if you can imagine bringing your weight into the pinky side of your lower part of your hand, wrist area, and then the other fulcrum becoming the lower part of the forefinger. So the lower part of the forefinger, and then diagonally across to the bottom of the hand, wrist area on the pinky side. So try that now. Hands right under shoulders, knees under hips, bringing the weight into the bottom of the forefingers, and then diagonally across to the pinky side of the wrist. Let the shoulder blades and the whole chest sink down, and then hips are level here, and then push up through the arms as the shoulders kind of rise up. Shoulder blades then sink down, just the shoulder blades, and then push them up through the arms. Shoulder blades retracting and then spreading apart. Then coming to neutral through the shoulder blades and the hips, keeping that position with the hands, cat-cow, laid from the pubic bone up through the clavicle, oblique muscles on the sides of the waist pulling up the spine, back and forth a few times. Keeping that relationship between forefinger and the pinky side of the wrist. And then gradually coming back through neutral. Keep your hands like that. They might need to come forward just a little bit, but reaffirming that positioning of the hands, tucking the toes, will come up into a downward dog. First thing you might want to do is paddle the heels a little bit. Let the knees be soft. This length that we create through the arms, through the sides of the body, up through the spine, the sits bones coming back. This also takes weight off of the wrists. And if your downward dog is always like this with the bent knees, that's fine. That brings less weight on the wrists. So you can adjudicate that as you do your downward dogs. Let's come forward into plank. You might have knees down. Of course, that's going to bring less weight onto the wrists, or knees up. And then we'll come down into a prone position. I mentioned that trapezius, these lower fibers of the trapezius that come down in the mid-back. And we're going to give them some exercise now by bringing our hands out to a Y. So we're a Y, our legs are together for the bottom of the Y, and our arms are spread above our heads for the upper part of the Y. So we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together here, just to the extent that that is comfortable. Then we're going to lift head and shoulders up and arms slightly. Head, shoulders, and arms rising slightly. Can you sense this in those lower fibers of that large muscle in your back, on either side of the spine? And if I feel it above the waist and a little below the waist. One more time. So that's one good way to strengthen the trapezius, which then allows the shoulder blades to more strongly open up the shoulder eyes. The median nerve is not compressed, and it runs down there with little irritation down through the carpal tunnel. Let's try a cobra. So bring the hands under the shoulders, elbows are along the body, bent. Retract the shoulder blades. So bring the shoulder blades in towards the spine and bring them down a little bit. Then we're going to use our muscles of the back to rise up slightly. Doesn't have to be far. So rather than pushing into our hands, squeezing shoulder blades together, bringing them down, and then lifting up slightly. If you need to use your hands somewhat, that's fine. It can be a gradual strengthening, which is always what we're after in yoga. Gradually strengthening things. One more time. Then bring your hands under your cheek and just rest for a moment. Coming back to the breath, allowing it to go into areas that maybe don't usually feel the breath. As we let the body soften and relax, the breath can get into nooks and crannies that aren't as available as other places in the body. Now lifting yourself back up, again coming into the tabletop position, bringing your weight onto the bottom of the forefinger and across to the wrist below the pinky. Make sure that your left hand is right under your shoulder. The left leg is going to come back, and the right arm is going to come forward. If that's too much for the wrist, just allow both wrists to be down, that's fine. Make a mental connection between the hip of the bent leg and the heel of the extended leg. And if you want to bring both wrists down, that's fine. We're concentrating here on the connection between the hip of the bent leg and the heel of the extended leg, as if they were connected by a belt, strengthening the side of that hip, making it very stable. Then bring that knee down. Bring your weight into the right hand. And maybe before you bring the left hand out, bring the right leg back. Make that connection between the right heel and the left hip, as if the side of the left hip were connected by a belt to the right heel, strengthening and stabilizing that left hip. And then if you would like to bring the left hand out, that right leg back, that can be a development of the sunbird posture. And bring it back. Coming up into downward dog for just a moment, taking a nice stretch back, and then walking forward, hands come back to meet the feet. And on an exhale, slowly coming up. And we'll do a sun salutation before we end our time together. So coming to the front of your mat, bring your hands behind, as we did before, interlacing the fingers, pulling down, shoulder blades come down. And then, if it is available to you, lifting slightly away from the buttocks, opening up through the pectoralis minor and the shoulder eyes. Then bring the arms overhead, forward fold, bring the left foot back, right foot stays forward, a knee up, long, low lunge. Feeling that stretch to the hip flexor, then bringing the back knee down and rolling over the front knee, keeping some lift through the chest. One more time forward, and one more time back. Then planting the hands on either side of the foot, thinking about how you're planting your hands. Bring the feet back, might be knees up or knees down into plank. The knees come down and the left foot comes forward. Tuck the toes, reach back through the heel. Just enjoying that opening in front of the hip. And the back knee comes down, roll over, a little stretch in the back of the front leg with a little lift through the chest, chin area. Stretching out and bowing over. And bringing the hands on either side of that front foot, coming into a downward dog. Aware of the hands and their placement. Long through arms, long through sides, sits bones reaching back, as little weight as possible on that thumb side of the wrist. Weight comes into the left foot, right foot rises up. Take a moment to enjoy that stretch from the hands through the body, all the way up through the foot. Then we'll bring the knee through or come back onto your knees, coming into a knee down lunge with the right foot forward. So we're in this knee down lunge. We're going to bring the left arm out and bring it back behind the body. The right arm is going to come out. So again, we're opening up this shoulder eye. Shoulder blade back here retracts back towards the spine slightly. The other arm is going to come out to the side, and then we'll do a slight twist with nose and arm in that direction, opening up the shoulder eye on that side. Bringing the hands down around that front foot, come back up into downward dog. Think about your hands, think about your sits bones, taking the weight off the wrists. Right foot is under the hips, left foot rises up. Stretch up. And then perhaps coming down on knees or bringing knee under belly and making your way into knee down lunge with the left foot forward. Now the right arm is going to come out, hand comes back behind the waist. Left arm opens up and slowly rotate, just slightly, over to the side. The right shoulder blade is retracting back towards the spine, and lower ribs are knit down in the front. One last time. Hands come down on either side of the front foot, tuck the toe, and spring forward. Hands come to shins, long through the spine. Drape the body down over the thighs, arms come wide, chest and eyes forward as you rise up. Let's do that sun salutation once more. Coming to the front of your mat, hands behind, interlacing the fingers, shoulder blades draw down and together. Slight lift through the hands for 3, 2, and 1. Hands come overhead, forward fold. Left foot comes back, right foot forward in a long, low lunge. Bow over the front leg. Come forward, lift the knee. Bow once again. And come forward. Plant the hands, come back into plank, knees up or knees down for 3, 2, and 1. Right knee comes down, left foot comes forward, and raising back through the heel. Long, low lunge. Back knee comes down, bowing over the front knee. One more time. Energy back through the heel, and then rolling through the front heel. And coming forward, planting the hands on either side of that front foot, coming into a downward dog. Long, long, hands planted to the bottom of the forefinger and the bottom of the wrist on the pinky side. Left foot centers under the hips, right leg reaches up, become long through sits bones and hips. And then bringing knee under the body or coming down on to your knees, making your way into knee down lunge, the right foot forward. Left hand goes out and back behind the waist. Shoulder blade retracts in on that left side. Lower ribs tuck down. The arm on the right lifts, and there's a little bit of turn with the face and the arm. Opening up through those shoulder eyes. Then bring the hands back around, down around that front foot and come up into downward dog. Right foot centers under the hips, left leg reaches up. Finding your way into knee down lunge with the left foot forward. And now the right hand is going to come back behind the waist. That right shoulder blade retracts in, lower front ribs knit down. And the left arm lifts out. Little opening through the shoulder eye on the left as you rotate back and forth. And then bringing both hands down around that front foot, up into downward dog. Stretch way back, knees are very bent. And then walking forward and bringing the hands back and slowly making your way up. Affection for our wrists. The best wrists in the whole world, no matter their condition. They're our favorite ones, right? Our own. Let's lift up our arms on either side, welcoming in the energies all around us, letting the energies of positive, radiant light filter out any tense and tired energy through head, brain tissues, eyes, ears, jaw, neck, down through the nerves in the shoulder eyes, the muscles of the chest, the lower ribs, and the belly. And lifting up, gathering in all the energies from nature all around us. Letting that space that we have cleared be filled with this positive, light-filled energy. Breathing it in, letting it permeate. Allowing the body to have space to breathe, softening through heart, the solar plexus, all along the spine, down into the lumbar spine, and the pelvic bowl. And one last time. Allowing your hands to come to your hara, belly, then dipping down, bringing some earth chi up, bringing it up to the heart, and settling it down into this core of our being, in our bellies. Just 2 more long breaths here, connecting the body, the mind, all the parts of the body, integrated and working together. Namaste. Thanks for practicing. I hope that helped your wrists a bit and at least gave you some ideas on how to go forward with strengthening your wrist and taking some stress off of it. See you the next time.